Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have to talk about the fact that reality has entered the chat. And look, Star Wars is no longer all that in a bag of chips. Globally, the number might look large when we're done with this holiday weekend thing after Memorial Day. But it didn't start out well here in North America, and it didn't go well overall in North America. And I believe, frankly, that it's unlikely that the Mandalorian and Grogu are going to do anything spectacular over the course of the film's survival in theaters. And that's a problem. So we get to talk about it. Here we go. Now, before we jump into the most disappointing box office I think Lucasfilm was hoping to avoid, we need to talk about this channel. I need your help. Double check you're still subscribed. If you see a button down there that says subscribe, click it. It becomes subscribed. Then hit the bell icon, turn on all the notifications so you don't miss anything. And finally, do me the small favor of leaving a comment at the end of the video. And if you want to hit the thumbs up button right now, that's great, but just make sure you do it before the end of the video. So let's jump into the story from our friends over at That Park Place. Now, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu opens up with just 12 million in Thursday previews. That's not a good number. There were some other box office collections prior to this date in various places around the US because of Disney minus screenings and things like that. You also have Variety out there saying that box office Mandalorian and Grogu takes off with 33 million. Well, that's going to be obviously a combined earnings number with Thursday and everything else. And Obsession, actually, the horror comedy romance film, I don't know what the heck to call it, but anyway, it took off and got a bump in its second week, which is insane. Up against this family fare film, you got Obsession jumping upwards. That's pretty wild. We'll get to those numbers in a minute. And then, of course, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu is now seizing 97 to 98 million on the 4-day opening, which is actually technically 5 days, 6 if you want to count the early Disney minus screenings. Obsession is up 26% weekend to weekend. So it actually jumped at a time when this movie came out. Anthony D'Alessandro was one of the people to notice this on Sunday, and I thought, well, you know what? This is pretty good coverage here. And look, overall, 97, 98 million on a 4-day is nothing to, shake a stick at, but it's not what they were expecting. The original global forecast put this film at 160 million worldwide, and this would bring it into about 167 worldwide on the high end. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. I mean, the global or the international number right now is only 69 million. And if that's the case, this might disappoint. And going forward, it's really going to disappoint, so we'll just leave that where it is. And then, of course, Hollywood Reporter decides to weigh in. And when they weigh in, they are kind of trying to settle the room because the cope has been glorious this entire weekend. The Mandalorian and Grogu won't lose money. It may not rescue Star Wars either. Well, at least they're being honest, and it probably won't rescue Star Wars. The last chance they have is the Starfighter film. And I don't put this failure on Jon Favreau. Is this movie going to lose money? Maybe not, but my guess is probably, so even this headline might be misleading. It will maybe end up in the black, but if it can't also broaden out the audience, did it do anything good? The answer is no. Star Wars is now niche. I talked about this in my review video, in my honest review video, just a few days ago. And the problem is they've made it a small screen product. And that's the biggest thing it suffers from. In fact, it's such a small screen product that the stakes were small. And that's going to be subject to a conversation on the 6 Minute Daily on Monday. So Star Wars box office rebound? I don't know about that. The Mandalorian and Grogu makes major gains on Saturday for 102 domestic opening. Maybe. I'm not sure I believe that. I could be wrong. We're going to see where things shake out. But do you know what's not reflecting this? This kind of gross exaggeration is actually over at the numbers, which we'll get to at the end here. And finally, over on That Park Place, Marvin wrote another great article, that's 2 this weekend, on The Mandalorian, talking about unlikely to hit 100 million. So there's reality. Over a 4-day weekend, this story published on the 23rd, it starts to give you a fairer picture of what's really legitimately happening in the world. And finally, we've got to get into the numbers. And the numbers are, well, speak for themselves. When you take a look at this, The Mandalorian and Grogu is 3 days into release, which is not technically true. It opened up on a Thursday. They're claiming 3 days because they always do that. The film came out in Thursday previews as early as 2 p.m. across the country. And it also had another preview day for the Disney Minus people and special showings and things like that. So that $12 million preview number isn't even a pure preview number, which, again, we could talk about a different time. But at $81.96 million, is this going to get the 4-day total of 100? Maybe. I'm willing to concede that maybe it gets there. But over the actual days in release through an actual weekend without the holiday on Monday, no. But what's more disgusting is this opened up in 4,300 theaters. It had a decent per theater average over 19,000. We've seen only 2 other films with higher numbers than that this year, but it didn't have the blockbuster opening I think they were hoping for. What it did have was not very positive word of mouth. I was accused of being a Disney shill and being in the, I'm in it for this movie, which I am absolutely not. In fact, I would say that my opinion of the film has fallen over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours. I went from being this is a 7 out of 10 to now, in my opinion, a 6 out of 10, and it may fall further over time the farther I'm separated from it. Why? Because I can count on one hand the times that I was genuinely excited at anything that happened in the film, and I can count on 2 hands exactly how many times I was bored. There was a lot of boring in here despite all the action set pieces that were put in motion multiple times throughout the film. That's just the truth of it. Anyway, back to the story. Obsession, like I said, jumping 30%. That's enormous. And again, it's only in 2,655 theaters. It's a rated R horror comedy romance? I don't even know what to call it, but it's up at 52 million in its 10 days of release with a $22.4 million earning. Well, my goodness. And then Michael's still hanging in there. Only a 23% fall off for $20 million. Still earning $6,053 per screening. That's really, really excellent. And you know what? For good reason. Michael's a very good film. Now, Devil Wears Prada is fallen to 4th place with only 12.5 million, but looks like it's going to be profitable. And you know what? That's a good thing. You got The Sheep Detectives having a small fall off of 6%. Didn't start off great guns, but now we're over $43 million in total just in the North American box office. Passengers, brand new, only 8.7 million. And I Love Boosters, the Please Watch Our Political movie with Keke Palmer at 3.7 million in total earnings in North America. This movie, depending upon how much it costs, is likely to hit the wall sooner rather than later. Finally, the Super Mario Galaxy movie sticks in there. It is still doing well in the top 10, 54 days in theaters and over $423 million in all, still earning $3.1 million in just 2,005 theaters. Again, these numbers are as good as they get for staying power over the course of the weekend. What's really strange is God Is earning just under $1 million, putting it close to 4 million or a little over 4 million, and it's only 10 days in release. I did see this showing at my multiplex, but it's only in 1,500 theaters. It had a 60% fall off from the previous weekend, obviously. That's why we're sitting at only 4 million. And what we skipped over was Project Hail Mary, which is still 2.7 million in only 1,300 theaters. And it's over 339 million, 66 days into its theatrical release, despite being available on digital. Everything else fell short of 500,000. Including Hokum, Corporate Retreat, Top Gun and its reissue, Tuner, Hoppers, Shrek, Silent Friend, Deep Water, and The Wizard of the Kremlin, and all the also-rans. By the way, if you are Angel Studios, you have got to be embarrassed over Animal Farm. Only $21,000 in total earnings in 77 theaters, $279 a screen, 76% fall off, and $5.5 million in theatrical release at 24 days. You made a political bomb and a joke out of a studio that had a loyal following that probably won't anymore. But of course, the big number we should always be talking about is what did the weekend end with? Well, the official weekend, not the holiday weekend, which includes Monday, which we'll get tomorrow, is $166.3 million. While over $100 million, it should have been higher than this if we had a good Star Wars movie, and it just wasn't. So, look, with only 23 features reporting in, and there were many more in theaters this weekend, 166 is nothing to complain about. The exhibitors are going to be happy, but I'm sure they were expecting over $200 million in performance in the first big box office weekend of the year. This kicks off the summer box office, and it really didn't do as well as we had hoped. Hopefully this number climbs over the next couple of days. It probably will. You'll see representatives of what Monday looks like tomorrow, and we'll have a better idea of what the weekend finally finished out overall on global numbers with all the top 5 films in the 6-minute daily on Monday morning. And anyway, if you don't check out the live show regularly, you should check it out on Mondays especially. We do dive deeply into the box office. And with that, I'll just leave you with this. I was unimpressed with The Mandalorian and Grogu. I have been more impressed with a lot of the independent films that have been coming out. And I think that Obsession is going to be one of those surprises like Sinners last year that really continued to drive box office earnings at a point in time when nobody could have predicted it. Michael is still going to hang in there next weekend. I have a feeling that once we get to the 60-day mark, it'll get pulled out of theaters for favoring digital. And I am surprised that Amazon has kept Project Hail Mary in the mix in theaters, but that tells you something. They really are going to try to produce theatrical films, and maybe Netflix is going to be forced to, well, perform there as well, like with the Cliff Booth movie that's going to be coming out soon. Suffice it to say, that's it for the box office weekend. Disney disappoints again with a not very good Star Wars movie with small stakes designed for the small screen, trying to pretend it's big screen material. And on that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And until next time, see ya. Just never watching Mando and Grogu again.